Many people feel that our democracy is in crisis. Some are even worried that we might lose it altogether. Much of this sense of crisis comes out of the 2016 presidential election, one of the most divisive and chaotic in our history, along with all that's happened since, including just in the last couple of weeks and even today. And during this evening, we will be talking about President Trump. But one of the reasons I want to talk to this group this evening, and with you, is this. Whether you think Donald Trump is the worst thing ever to happen to American democracy or the best thing, what we're going through now did not start with him. And so my challenge for us all this evening is to wrestle with three simple but crucial questions. Where are we? How did we get here? And where are we going? So to my first question, where are we? Is this a crisis? And I'd like each of you to give me your 60-second answer to that question, and then we'll explore it more deeply. And I'm going to start by asking you, Sam, what's your short version, first of all, of where we are right now?
Well, thank you very much, Spencer, for getting this all started and getting us all here, and thank you all for coming. Yes, I think our democracy is in a crisis. We've had a foreign adversary interfere with our presidential elections. We've had a president elected who immediately started attacking the media, started attacking the judges and the courts, started attacking immigrants, so 11 million undocumented people, threatened to deport them all, banned Muslims from traveling into the United States. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are attacks against our democratic institutions. And without really, you know, you get elected, you're trying to represent everybody. You're trying to build consensus and build leadership. And I think you can't do that by just emphasizing the negative.
All right, thank you. Sam. Zach.
Well, I think that democracy is threatened anytime you don't have an engaged electorate. And I think it's hard to argue with people filling a room here tonight or filling the streets as they have been for the last few months, so we don't have an engaged electorate. And I think that historically across the United States, at the founding of the country and the debates with Hamilton and Madison, through a civil war where the country literally debated whether it should stay together or not, and the fundamentals of human rights, through the Civil Rights Act to now, I think that democracy is always being tested, right? And I think that the degree that the people continue to stay engaged means that in and of itself, it won't reach a crisis stage. It's always being challenged. But the minute that we aren't engaged, the minute that we take it for granted is the time it actually reaches the crisis stage.
Okay, thank you. And Adrienne.
Yeah, I very much agree with Zach and with Congressman Farr. I think where we go from here will determine whether or not this is a crisis. If we continue to be engaged and up our engagement in ways that lead to productive outcomes, our response to all of the travesties of justice that we're seeing and the challenges to our democratic institutions, how we respond to those things will really determine whether the fate of democracy is really challenged and in crisis.
And I too think we're in very serious trouble. I would say that I am normally the person in a conversation who's offering the optimistic view. And very often when people are concerned about whatever might be going on in politics, whether it's national, local, I'll be saying, you know, we should really take the long view, and this is probably not as bad as it's been in the past in various points in history. And so far, as bad as this is, as frightening as it is in many ways, I don't think we're over the edge yet. But the pessimistic view that I have now, more than I have, well, certainly in the last 10 years or so, is not so much about exactly what's happening now, but about what could happen if the trend line continues. And that's probably my major concern. It's just we're seeing these warning signs, and we're seeing too many of them. A lot of the turmoil we see now does cut across party lines. That we can set aside some of the policy arguments that Democrats have with Republicans and vice versa, and see that there genuinely are thoughtful people across the ideological spectrum who are concerned about questions like the rule of law and the free press. And these should be non-ideological issues. And I think